What's going on, everybody? Kalibus Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to revisit the Samsung Galaxy A23 LTE about a year after my original review and go over whether or not it's still a good phone to buy at this point. Now, as always, if you do end up wanting to learn more about this phone, be sure to check out the description where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So with the Samsung Galaxy A23 LTE, we're getting a 6.6-inch 90Hz PLS TFT display with a 1080p resolution, a PPI of 400, and a 20:9 aspect ratio. So definitely a great display here in pretty much every way. At 6.6 inches, the display is definitely on the larger side. Maybe not an enormous display, but compared to the average of 6.5 inches, it's a tiny bit larger than your typical smartphone at this point in 2023. So definitely if you're going to be on your phone a decent amount doing stuff like reading, watching videos, or really anything else for that matter, you will get a good experience. And aside from being decently large, we're also getting really good image quality here. With the 1080p resolution, things are going to be nice and sharp, and the colors and brightness are also pretty good too. So overall, if you're looking for a more affordable phone that has a nice display, you're definitely not going to go wrong here. Now for the storage, with the Samsung Galaxy A23 4G, we're getting 128GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion. So for a 4G phone, especially a more affordable one, we're actually getting a ton of storage here. For the average user, you're probably not going to need more than this. And even if you have a lot of photos and videos, for example, you can always offload that stuff onto a microSD card, and that will help too. So if storage is more of a priority for you, then this phone will be a great choice. For security features, with the Samsung Galaxy A23, this phone does have Face Unlock and a fingerprint scanner right here on the power key. So definitely nice to get both options here, but let's give the fingerprint scanner a try. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So as you can see, real fast and responsive, no issues at all. Now taking a look at the camera setup here. Up front, we got an 8-megapixel selfie camera. Then on the back, we got a quad camera setup with a 50-megapixel main camera, a 5-megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2-megapixel macro camera, and a 2-megapixel depth sensing camera. So overall, despite being more or less an entry-level phone, we are getting pretty much all the camera features here, including an ultra-wide camera and a macro camera. So definitely some good flexibility. And aside from just having these features, the actual photo quality itself is really good too. With a 50-megapixel camera, you can expect to get some real good photos. So if you are someone who's taking a lot of pictures and you want to make sure things actually look nice too, the A23 will be a great choice. To give you an idea of what it can do, here's some pictures taken with the Samsung Galaxy A23, and again, great photo quality overall. Sure, if you compare it to a much higher end device like a Samsung Galaxy S21 FE or even the new Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, yeah, in that case, those phones are going to be quite a bit better, but considering what it is, I do think the A23 has a really nice camera, and for most people, for things people typically use smartphone cameras for anyway, I do think for the most part, the photo quality we get here will be good enough. And then keep in mind for video, with the A23, we do have a max recording quality of 1080p in both the rear and front cameras, so no 4K unfortunately, but honestly considering what it is, it's not really a surprise. But if you're coming from maybe an older flagship phone, for example, that can record 4K videos, and you're expecting all phones at this point in 2023 to be able to record 4K videos too, then just keep in mind that's unfortunately not the case, and most of the more affordable phones like this are still going to be recording in 1080p. But overall, if you are looking for a more affordable device that has a really nice camera setup, then I don't think you'll be disappointed with this phone. Now when it comes to RAM and processor, with the Samsung Galaxy A23, we're getting 4GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 4G processor. So yeah, keep in mind this is not the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G. That is a completely different phone. This is the 4G version that, in case you don't know, is not officially launched in the US. But all the same, despite not being a 5G phone, I feel like for what it is, the performance we're getting here is actually pretty impressive. Sure, compared to a much higher end device, it's not going to be nearly as fast, and if you're going to be on your phone all day doing more demanding activities, then yeah, you will want to get something a bit faster. But in general, for a more affordable device, for more basic activities like web browsing, social media, watching videos, and even some light mobile gaming, surprisingly, the performance we get with the A23 is actually pretty good. And especially compared to other 4G phones, this is definitely one of the faster ones. So if you're just looking for something a bit more basic and you don't really care about 5G connectivity, but maybe you want a little bit of extra power when you need it, then in that case, this phone will get the job done. Now I did run a benchmark test on this phone using Geekbench 6, and here are the results I got. Now I do recommend running this test on your current phone and then comparing your results to these, and that's going to give you a better idea of where this phone stands performance wise compared to your current device, because depending on what you currently have, this phone may or may not be a performance upgrade. But in general, again, I feel like for an affordable 4G phone, we can really only expect so much, and for what it is, this is definitely a surprisingly fast device, or at least faster than I expected. So if you are looking for a more affordable phone that has at least decent performance, I do think this phone will at least get the job done. Now for the battery, the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a 5000 mAh battery that supports 25 watt fast charging, so we got a great battery here. With a 5000 mAh battery, you can expect to get real good battery life and longevity. So if that is more of an important thing for you, maybe you're not always around a charger and you need something that's really gonna last all day. In that case, this phone will be a good option for that. And with 25 watt fast charging, first of all, keep in mind, to fully take advantage of this, you will need a 25 watt fast charger, which this phone doesn't come with. I think it's like 5 or 10 watts, and again, you do need 25 watts. But if you do have the proper fast charger, the charging speeds you get with this phone will be pretty good. So overall, if the battery is more of an important thing for you, then this phone is definitely worth considering. Now for the software, the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have Android 13, and with Samsung software support, you can also expect to get several other major updates in the future. So if you're someone who likes to have the latest version of Android, and you want to keep your phone for at least a couple years, then this will be a great phone for that. In addition to this phone also does have NFC, so if you like to use tap and pay, you'll be happy to know you can use that feature no problem. Now taking a look at the overall design here, definitely pretty decent, not really anything out of the ordinary. Like pretty much every entry-level phone, we got a slightly thicker bottom bezel, and then the water drop notch up top, but aside from that, the side bezels are pretty thin, and the phone does have a pretty decent design. Again, it's nothing really special or premium, but I feel like for what it is, it's not meant to be like that anyway, so I really have no complaints. As far as the materials go, the phone is made entirely of plastic, which is no surprise, but I do like this nice blue finish, and despite having kind of a glossy back, the fingerprints don't really show up too badly, and I do like the camera module, pretty nice here, and the build quality is really good too. So overall, I really don't have any complaints. But in conclusion, my general thoughts about the Samsung Galaxy A23 about a year after my original review. In general, despite not being anything really spectacular, it's not like this phone has an insanely fast processor with 5G connectivity or a crazy camera that can record 4K videos or anything like that. For what it is, I do think this is actually a pretty solid device. Now, an argument could be made for getting the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G instead, because at this point in 2023, it definitely does make sense to get a 5G phone, and the A23 is pretty much the same as this, except maybe a little bit better, but overall, I do think you can find some pretty solid deals on this phone. And if you don't really care about 5G connectivity, and you really just need more of a basic device, but you still want good storage, a nice display, a great camera, a large battery, features like NFC, and a processor that may not be super fast, but is at least fast enough for all your basic daily activities, then in that case, while it may or may not be the absolute best choice depending on the actual deal you get, I do think even now, a year later, the Samsung Galaxy A23 is definitely still at least worth considering. Now once again, if you do want to learn more about this phone, definitely check out the description where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Khalipa's Tech on Twitter and Instagram, and as always, I will see you in the next video.